Hello, this is Gerald van Waas. This is the next video in the series of the educational channel, explaining the meanings of letters and letter combinations, and it goes into the matter in a way that it will discover new things. In every video there will be new things also added to what I already said or have written before. In this video I will continue with the letter R, and there are three regions of categories of letters that are somewhat related to each other in context, and the third one is the most complex one, which are about context as well. They try to find more context from there. There are several letters that fit to that category. And one of these letters is of course the G, so I will focus a little bit more on not too much, just enough to have Gerald. And here are all the focuses together, so if we are a little bit lucky you will have immediately a focus in space. If we are not so lucky we have to look for it, the beginning and the ending, I'll look for them in the time frame. But the context ones, the other ones which you see here, they will say like oh, you have to correct it a little bit, and when you're quite close by, you have three letters a little bit further away, H and R, and very far away in a very large context and a dominating context giving matters. They are the I and the S. But I will focus mostly on G and R. So what will happen when we focus onto objects? We name objects with letters. All of these letters fit into one of these categories. So the first category is space. So when we place the letters in one moment immediately, on one place immediately, on a fixed place immediately, we only need one focus and we can name them. There are 9 letters there. There are also once we have two focuses needed when you have a time frame, when there are changes there, because then you say, okay, but what is a change? A change is something that has a starting point and an ending point, and they are different. So you need two focuses. As soon as you need 3 focuses, it's actually more of an adaptation that is needed, a correction often that is needed, because you couldn't see very well one of these other elements, and you have to correct it a little bit so that that it hangs better together. That is 3 focus that you already had in the first place, hang together via, let's say, a 0 point of vision that makes them hang together. And I already explained all the combinations with R from the first 2 categories in space and in time, so it's about time. We will also focus on the context frames. How do they work? And actually it is possible to see them from a vision of 3 differences. Well, space you need 1 focus only. In time you need 2 focuses, obviously, as I already explained. With context you need 3 focuses, also a bit obviously. And our mind makes a few distinctions. So in fact they are quite simple, so it is like, we try to figure out differences that we need a context for in a centralized position, or somewhere in the material, or somewhere at the edge. That's the first 3. Are the first 3 letters. So let's focus on all of them and explain them a little bit. What happens there? What is the kind of focus? You can learn to interpret what you see here by knowing what context that you have here. So you see, we have 3 focuses and 3 middles, or 3 centralized visions. And this is good for the letter Q. So what does the Q do? in a way, when we have three middles, yeah, who is in charge? So one of them, your context, will be dominating and it will be in charge. What will it do? It will see how it hangs together. Actually, not more than that. That's the basic association, what it will do. It tries to figure out from context how it hangs together. The next one is then somewhere in the volume. That means the volume is the material that is developing further and is somewhat in between. It's growing and so on. That can be the in-between zone. How does that hang together there? Here you actually say, yeah, it's about material, and what hangs together here, it will find its own place. So you will see from context where something belongs, or when something belongs. That's the V. And the G, what is that? This is also three focuses, but these three focuses are at the edges. So it's at the edge of these focuses as well. You hardly keep your focus on each of these sections in space, in time, or even in context. And what will happen there? Each of these things will find its own place automatically. In a way, they separate themselves as well. They will create its own division. You will not create its division. It will create division, and it will create all the rest, the material, the centralizing ideas, you name it. You don't see it, it's at the edges. What is confused quite often is that when we try to focus on these things that are very far away and we don't even know where it starts or where it ends, that kind of focus, that we think that we can still establish a point of reference that is also at the edges. You can think, okay, this is a horizon. The red is like the heavens and the background, and you have a point of reference where you can focus. And you see, you have all these three. You have the one vision, and you can see it very clearly because you can divide it into what is left and what is right, what is good or what is bad. The heavens decide. But this is a confusion of the V. The V center focuses on material. The G focuses on what is on the edges, so what is growing apart, what is growing away, what you don't know anymore, that kind of thing. This is all what you don't know, so the other thing, all what is further away. Of course you can say like, okay, this red part, that's the heavens, and then you have the space and time and everything what happens, and something watches over us. The other, what can you see with the other? That it is different, that it's others, it is going away, it is appearing only slightly, and what can you see? What it gets to you, so everything that becomes from there, that will be derived from there. So there's not much of a judgment there. You can't have that kind of judgment. It's a confusion. The V confused with G makes the word vague even. It makes the G like a god. It makes it something vague, undefined, and it's or makes it a definition. Makes a definition in the middle and says, okay, I know what it is because it's in the book. Here's the good and bad, and I know where the good goes to, and I know where the bad goes to. That's the kind of confusion which is easily done, and it is a bit an abuse also of what this other could be. You don't know what this other is. Leave this other. The only thing that will be brought from the other, the G, what is beyond our horizon, far away, it is brought to you automatically if you follow it, how it cooperates. this kind of cooperation, what it brings, is comparable. If we're not we're into the in the field of religion now. This is the Trinity, of course. So there is the three parts, the space, which is the Trinity is also in these three regions. It is what is what is becoming, and what is behind it. The Trinity that shows you which cooperation in this pieces that you see there. What is the cooperation that the time will bring and the space will bring automatically by focusing on what brings them together in context. What is the context that brings it together? And you can only see it from the results it automatically brings. This is the pieces meaning, or something in beyond it. You cannot judge it. If you're judging like this is the good part and this is bad, but this is no longer about cooperation. These cooperations needs to find itself in focus. Okay, that's just a side way here. So what is then the next level of letters? There are three letters. You had already the Q, the V, and the G. The next level of letters is the H, the R, and the sound He, which is just a sound, which is not a real letter, but it also exists. And here there's not just one center focus that you want to create and understand. Here there is a double focus. So there are differences in the center. And there you deal with things differently because there's more variation in there. So what you have here, you have the O. In the previous level, you had O, E, and Z, and W. So the O, you could see on one horizontal plane, you could see, okay, that belongs to space, that belongs to the combinations of space and time, and that belongs in time, so that will be later. You have them all will have their place, all will have their moment. That's the O. The E is more about, that's the material. Okay, the material develops, the material comes forward, and the material also will develop gradually on all its levels. And the Z and the W, I will not go into that further now, but I will now go to the next level, which we are now. So we had the double focus. What's the double focus? If it's not clear, we know what we have. So what do we have? What is needed actually for what moment? What is a perfect moment? What is it? So you take an extra double focus that you show context. What is a context in the moment? The context that brings the moments together is H. The context that brings together E is R, and the context that brings together Z and W is He. I will explain it in a moment. But first, a little bit more explanation, of course. So you see, of course, the H. You see how nice of an order of that you can see how well it combines time and space, how well these combine. You know the area of cooperation between time and space, and that's what it is about. H, or breath, is the cooperative time and space region, and that focus, all your focus goes towards it. That's the context for it. That's even the context for it. The R, okay, you see, you had these points of growth in E, so something was growing. You had it growing on each level, and when you make that a focus, you have the focus of the context of all the connections in time and space again, of how it can grow further. Like the E is growth, here the R is how it grows. You know how it grows and how it can grow together. The He, Okay, here I add extra logic to what I already have. The things were going into a different direction, so sideways in a diagonal plane, and he just continues that path so that you can even continue your logic in context. The funny thing is, and that's what he is about, it's if you continue your logic and it seems logic, but actually you see also underneath it's not going the same way. It's not what it is. It's combining something like logic and something illogic. It seems to hang together, but it doesn't. And actually, because it only does in logic, it is funny. You don't use it in words, it's he, but you can use it as a consciousness from how things hang together. If you only let them hang together via logic, so of course it becomes illogical after a while. One of the things you can derive from it, but it's just a context-making thing. The humor, the fun of the humor is that you make a context and you believe in that context because you follow the logic, but actually it's not there. And the moment you realize that, that's he. The R, I also have the R presented always as this spiral, and you see that it also fits quite well into this growing circle even. Yeah, it grows in context from space to time, and it connects all further and further and further. The symbol itself underneath is usable, and it's even usable now. And H and R can also, okay, there are a lot of points there, so you can derive them a little bit to just one point of extra focus, maybe even thicken it a little bit. Here you have the H, so the cooperation in context between time and space is presented here well, and the cooperation between the timings and development and things that are existing in space that are developed as material, they are also connected in this way. That's why you can also easily focus out and take out H and R on this level of the complexity in letters, and you can present them here very well. And here also with the direction of connections via R. More explanations later, but here is the last level of letters. So you have not just one center focus, not two, but three. So that's almost the maximum. So you want to get the context hanging together better. So you have three focuses in context. You want to make what is happening in space hanging together better, and in time hanging better together. Then you have the G. But if that's not enough, you still don't succeed to make it hang together. You add the next level and you add context, and thanks to context you can make it hang together better. The same for F and the same for U. Let's investigate them further. So what we had on the previous level on the two focuses, G was actually expressing a direction towards a deliberate logic, so that you say, okay, there is something hanging together, let's focus on that, let's work towards that better logic. It's not there yet, but I work towards it. That's what the G is used for in words. The E on the next level, by adding context, it finalizes this idea of G, and you have the logic. You find the logic. You can see here, oh yeah, there's a logic here. I see a triangle here. That's the logic. That's the logic that you can find. I have something new. I have found. I can discover a logic here. In F, the same thing happens. What did happen in F? What was the meaning of F? What F gave us was a distinction between elements and we try to figure out, yeah, how does it hang together? How does the things in space hang together in time? And what's the moment that makes it hang together in time at that what we can find in space? It's divided, but we will try to distinct the totality of this. The S will add even more context to that, because F can be rather vague where we are or where it goes to. The S will show the totality of its full cooperation and its cooperative elements. It will show, okay, a certain dynamic that there are a lot of elements in the move, let's say, are moving on. So one of the, okay, maybe I can even add more explanations later, but that's already, you can already see F is the first level, S is the next level. Here you see all the elements that can, yeah, run into the system. They are just running in the system as different, as a bit separate elements as well. And there's a certain cooperativeness that you can sense already here, even if I didn't work it out further. And what's the P then? So P, we already said, okay, it's at the end of that process, and we try to distinct what is all the differences at the end, at the edges, at the end of the material process, at the end of a time process. We try to distinct all of it. If it's not possible, we have to take it to the next level, add some extra context. So if we see, okay, we have a result, but I don't know what kind of result it is because I don't see it very well, take it to the next level. You find context. What's the context for seeing the end results, but you don't see a logic in it? It's the sound H. H is also not a real letter, but it is a mindset of consciousness that sees things. It sees the full picture, and it sees at the end of the process all of its elements, and if they hang together or not, it doesn't care. I see it all. It is actually a very sobering consciousness, where also when things doesn't hang together, you still see it. You accept it, that that's the result, even if it's not worth it. So, what do we have already? Is something here extra that I have here written here. So what's the end sum, and what sums it up in S? Yeah. In E it is how it hangs together in context in general. In S it will bring the context in the material, of course. So that's the total sum, the sum of it, the full reality, not necessarily with a great order, but with some order at least. In who, it doesn't even matter anymore what order there is, and it's just simply the elements as they are. It's at the end of the system, of the whole system of logic, of all the letters. That's the last sound that you have. H. It even has, yeah, you can see it in two ways, or it has a context of its own, or it has even no context at all. H is just, here we have the material, and it even doesn't hang together yet. But I see it, I understand it, and that's the most sobering thought that you can create. There's more enlightenment in H than in some other sounds that you can produce. And now we combine them with R. So we have the first three letters, Q, V, and G. Let's combine them with R. Let's start with R first. So we start with the R and add it. So you have the ruk, the ruf, and the rug. Rug, it's used, or ruk, it is used for a couple of words. You have rug, which is Dutch, which is back. You have the rack, which is also at the outside, and the rog, which is the ray. And they are somewhat recognizable if you wish. So it's at the edges. It's even behind everything. It's at the back. It's so you see the back of the ray is the most dominating thing. The back of the back itself, the rug, the rog. It's almost as all both with the emphasis on the back, and the rack also an emphasis on the outside. It is somewhat recognizable. I don't know words with the other combinations. Oh yes, I do. Oh yeah, I do. Okay, in this next video I do. So I can add, of course, 3 times the R to the 3 points of focus that the 3 focus points that I have. 1 point from focus, 1 point in space, and 1 in time. And with riff, you see some kind of it's not a conclusive conclusion here, but I can recognize words like rave or reverent. The only thing I can see is that, okay, what starts from context goes into 2 different ways. It goes to 2 different positions, as if the reality of space is following a separate trail than the reality in time, like in idealism or in future ideas and so on. And I'm not sure, but it is possible that these words have an inspiration with ruf to split that up, to split that coordination in the background, so that it will not have the same timing as what is needed in space. So there can be a discrepancy in this case. Leave it as it is, as what I said. You can leave it as a side remark. I'm talking about letter foundations. You will figure out some of them which are worked out more, how well they will fit. And then you have QR or VR. Yeah, VR, what we'll have with VR. You have a vrum, which means go, this Dutch word, which is actually a dialect word, which says you go vrum, or you go forth. The vracht or the cargo. It gives a certain driving forward in all of these words so far. And the driving forward, okay. Is that recognizable? I don't know yet, so it is a bit vague. I leave it to that for this moment. And grrr, is that already more easy? You have, which words you have? Growth, you have great, and by adding R to this, normally you should also have connections there, add connections, add vibrations, and then you can see it much more better what is developing from there. But what you can see already, the growth and great, you can sense how easy it is to make the forms or even the area become bigger. So that is recognizable, that it is one of the possibilities that you can create by it, by starting from G and add R. It makes the things bigger. Let's figure out. We see it from context. So the logic that we will use is, okay, we try to figure out, okay, what is the logic? Our mind will do that with G to R. So what is the logic? If they go to the middle or to the side, making connections, it doesn't matter actually, but it will show you how if you start from this contextual frame, which is the basics to give an order to what you're seeing, it's best that you start from there. So with the grr in the 2 directions, it makes even more sense, and you will also sense how well it then fits with great or grand better. It even reminds me of Greek domes, but that's another matter. So the grrr, what does that actually do? So if I would finalize my starting point of the r, which is actually trembling vibration, the vibration that follows what is there, I have to do that a little bit and into this frame to show what is really happening. What's the combination of G with R? R will make the vibration stronger, so how will that do? So I have the first basic R, which fits there and goes to the next frame. And of course this other one, and if you combine them, it again shows that as if it makes the totality of what you see, it makes it appear bigger. And that's actually what it does with sound also. So the with r will make the r bigger. It will make it stronger, larger. Not that it is automatically will be stronger with r sound. No, it will appear stronger and bigger because G is actually about context, what you can't see. You can't see what is behind, and what you can't see behind, this is strengthened so that it becomes bigger. And that's what is becoming bigger. So you get the impression that all what is hidden behind it is also becoming bigger. So you don't know what to expect. So the range of that sound grows, but you don't know what's behind it, and that's frightening. And that's what will make the leaf. Yeah, you will walk away when you hear. You will walk away. But that's all basically what it is. It's an appearance. You recognize it and you react accordingly. That's how you react to sounds. That's how you behave towards it. You know there is something more behind. You can't see it, and how you react to it. I mean, it doesn't say that you have to walk away and be afraid. No, it just says like, there's a large part that I can't see. But it's there. The more the sound there is, the bigger this idea will become. That there's more behind it. Here, the opposites with H and R. I have I don't know words, but I can present it. And the opposite, then I have and here sounds a bit like here, but the rest I can't find any words with it, so we just leave it with maybe r will the r is like rare or roar is there, and but I don't know yet what to think of it yet. I can do something with here. It's in. When I also, it doesn't matter if to the left or to the right. You have to find the logic. Here you see the logic. The logic is not spreading away. It's going. It's going to next. Here I have a logic. Here I have a logic. Here I have a logic. So the here ends in that point between space and time, and that's the here point of course, the point of here and now. Where it meets, where the space ends up. Coincidental maybe, but it can be recognized as such, as that point in the middle that we can use. Okay, the last part is also more complicated, of course, but I will prove in the end that I'm not so far away from reality where it belongs to. Only the way how the logic builds up and how it can be proven, let's say, and dealt with everything that is there, makes it quite difficult, because the complexity actually grows at the end of a system. So it can only be a derived form at some points. Nevertheless, I will give you some very good examples, because when we know words, and then we thanks to these words we can have a reference point and can see how well will it fit or how well will it not fit. E and R, that's, for instance, that's a combination which will make us easy, because there are a lot of several words with ir. And then you have sr and hr. And of course, what will I do with r? Where shall I'll add the r? Of course, it will, if I start with e and I end with r, I have to start at the points where you have to start, where you have to end. They are fixed. Just take them apart and you know where they have to have them. Is a starting point here with the 2 regions with the r's and with the 3 regions with the r. So let's take, of course, the 3 regions. It has to be experimental, there's no other way, but I can do something with it, you will see in a moment. Especially with ir. The I was also very clear. It found a logic that actually comes automatically out of it. It is that new idea of the I. With ir, I should be able to use that idea, it seems. But if you use ir with all the angles, so also with the continuation in space and time, it's divided. So it doesn't seem to make the hanging together of I stronger. On the contrary, it makes it take apart. And what words do we have with ir? We have irrational, or the German word irren, which means to make mistakes, or so you can't start a logic which you have in I, which is logical, which finds its logic, and then be driven by it. Oh, I found something, I have an idea, I will make it stronger. That's ir. It will make it strong. It will start from an idea. You have a perfect triangle of ideas, but you just by making it drive further, you follow one logic stronger than needed, and the reality, the blue part, will go into a different direction. So because you were driven by an idea, it always goes to an automatic irrationality. Then you have here sr, I also know words, syrup. So you have the material, and you can distinct material, how it more or less hangs together. That's what with syrup, you take something out, and okay, you can make the logic, you can recognize the logic if you know what it is about. The points that you see there are in the zone of the material, so they are about the material. You see it somewhat hangs together. So that's the kind of logic that you can use to derive something from it. It's not that I see this and then I make something from it. No, it's about, I know it's about material. I know with I it's about, what was it about? About centralization. It was about centralization. This is S is about material. And the syrup is, you can have a division of the material at the end. You can taste it at the end. Huh. Yeah, I know just one word. Hurry. Hurry. I think that makes sense to use that word. And I only know will take you somewhere else. Is that that consciousness that I just talked about? I don't know yet. I just leave it behind. But you will get some good ideas at the end. So even with the S, you see, it's almost like you have all the material together. It's almost at the edge of chaos, but you can still distinct elements. With the other one, it's so much taking so much taking apart that you don't distinct these elements anymore. The only thing you can do is you can keep everything together, but it does, even if it doesn't hang together. That's in the background, playing along in the background. So you have here a lot of these, into 1, 2 or 3 arrows examples. But let's focus on the contradictions of ir or ri, because both know words, and if I am correct with that, all the letters and letter combination have a fixed position of meanings, Ir should also be the opposite of ri. Okay, let's find out. Because it's also so clear with I, you have the context which is shown in the middle there, that yeah, we will find that context in I, we will find that order. What will we do with R? We add the arrows there. The arrows bring us to separations. So you have, simply because of this drive, and it reminds me a bit of some of the conflicts that appear on Facebook, which I am sometimes participating as well, that someone has an idea and overreacts with it, like in the, for instance, with Afrocentric ideas. I found them quite annoying, because they go for one idea, exaggerate it, drive it, and they drive it into the direction that becomes irrational, that it's no longer hanging together with reality. While the more they say, the less it is about reality. It's very dangerous territory, because when you try to do so, if you have a different idea and you start to have a drive and want to have show the opposite, automatically you also go to that irrationality, simply because the energy is driving you towards the next conclusion, this doesn't work like that. The energy itself of having an idea, a good idea, of a bad idea, doesn't matter. But if the energy itself drives you more than looking for ideas, finding ideas, and so on, it simply doesn't work. That's not the way to make decisions, to make conclusions, or to convince at all. But these are, of course, an opposite. So you have, with Ir, you have an idea, but the drive takes over. You can have the other way around. You can have a drive and then find ideas thanks to this drive. You find insights thanks to this drive. It's the other way around. You find something to insert. And there are a couple of words with ri. I have rij, which simply means row. It's following that logic. The zipper, which is also, it's also following this row and finds something that, you can take in or take out. That's something else. But all with ri sounds much more fitting with something rational, with more rational decision. It's not about rationality. It is about that I lead my drive from context. You can see I have this context together, like the I. I start from the I. I start from what can bring me context, the I, and then I give it a drive and I find what's already there. There is something there and I follow it. And that's goes automatically. You go automatically to the ideas that brings you to the next idea, to the next structure. You find the structure. And there's a comparison, as a last thing that I want to say, that I want to do with the Futomani wheel that I have discussed in the application of the word, which is actually a foundation that I'm not sure about, but it could be the building blocks frame of the Japanese language, a very old one, compared to not only the moments of how light changes in the seasons, as you see there in the middle, the or the wa, so the light and the shadow, and then or the light going in that one direction then goes into another direction, slowing down in wa. That's one of the options. Another option is that it is also driven by the idea of how the oracles worked. Now we call them oracles. You can also see them in a completely different perspective, that you want to find out what we need to follow. What shall we do? Follow the ri or the ir? Because if we follow these ideas from the oracles as instinctively and be driven by it and want to do something with it, that will become irrational occultism. While the other way around, if you say like, oh no, I can find the ideas of the patterns. I find the patterns, and these patterns exist there, and because they're there. There are patterns there, and if I have this drive to find them also, and I have the good intention that I follow the context which is already there, it will bring me the next thing. And that's what ring makes also an association with the reading. A funny thing is, if I compare the symbols which for I and Ri, we all have double letters that are the building blocks for the Japanese way of speaking. So maybe it's even not a developed language, but I mean not a developed in time language, but a developed and a constructive language. It might have been constructed because there's a logic in it, which you can find in nature, but maybe they give it an order to it and it became a language. I think all these possibilities are there. But okay, I'm talking too much. What do you see there? The letters combination of Ri is there as well. The I is there as well. What does this I represent? Now you have, of course, what was used for predictions. The predictions were not only the light that you can see in nature, it becomes stronger and slowing down so that you can have the rhythm of nature. The rhythm of nature is one of these things that you need to discover. Another thing is that there are patterns followed also when the rhythms change. And they tried to figure it out a little bit easier. One of these things were the cups which we now contained in oracles with dices. That's what derived from it. But this is the cup. The cup is the content. The content, it's the cup which is hardened earth mostly. So it had one of these elements already combined. In that, within this cup will be heated up metal. Metal is an in-between zone between the elements, and it became liquid by heating it up. And in that way, it meets all the elements and confronts all the elements. So when we then at the end throw it out into a position, it will split into drops that have a certain form, and we can follow the patterns because they are a bit in balance with the elements. That's basically what it did, not simply to predict the future, but also to predict what's the behaviorism in these conditions. I present these conditions, I form these conditions, just like in chemistry you can form the distinctions by combining a certain condition, and then you come to the form of it. Then it shows you a certain form, and by this form you can see what kind of conditions you have. The cup with that metal ball in it is your desire to know. You want to have a solution. The cup is also there in tarot. It is related with the hearts, it's related with water, it's related with feelings, it's related also with the desire to know. That's also one of the balances that you can compare it to. It takes us too long if I explain everything. But it's all connected in that way. So if I translate it to what we need to know, this cup is my wanting to know the circumstances and the patterns and so on in E. And discovering it in there, for sure, I have it. What will I discover and what will I take out? I will take out the patterns, ri. The R is also the stars that go into a certain direction. From the moment you know this direction, you know also the way where it's going. You understand where it is going. With ri, what did you do? You were having a reading. R-E, from reading. You recognize the patterns. You can follow them. This is not about prediction, because prediction as an intention, as a strong intention, that's ir or irrationality. Here it is about ri, following the patterns that are already for you. Try to recognize them. Once you start to be able to read them, you also know what to do. You know, so because you see and you recognize in your reading the path that has been written. And the path that has been written is also written in the letters and letter combinations. In the word that is behind it, the word that is behind it. Okay, I hope this was enjoyable. It was a quite long video, but there was a lot to say. There are some books also with some preparations. If you read them, don't have to learn them by heart. You can learn to come to sense how you have to read things, not just by learning things rationally. You also have to sense it a little bit and find out the balance. How is this balance? Go for the balance. What is this kind of balance? And some of these images that I had today might be checked again and be worked out again and have associations, but that's not for now. This was already a good start. I think that some of it you can use already further. Okay, thanks again for watching. This was Gerald Theo van Was. Until next time, thanks, bye.